The vastness of space aboard the United Earthship Vanguard was usually a quiet frontier, but the calm was shattered when a desperate signal blinked onto the main screen. Mayday, Mayday. This is Etheria Control. We are under attack. Request immediate. The message, fragmented by static, spoke of a sudden and brutal assault. Commander Jason Hawk stood rigid in the control room, the weight of command on his shoulders. Etheria, a world known for its tranquility and wisdom, was screaming into the void, and its echoes resonated within the steel walls of the Vanguard. The silence that followed the signal's end was as chilling as the void outside. Hawk faced his crew, a mixture of seasoned officers and young cadets whose eyes were wide with the unfolding drama. "We are the closest vessel," he stated, his voice steady. "Protocol be damned." Objections arose immediately, both from his own advisors and the High Command broadcasting from Earth. "Commander Hawk, stand down. The Council is not yet..." But their indecision was met with the back of Hawk's hand slamming the communication channel shut. The crew's hesitation dissipated as Hawk's conviction filled the room. "All hands, battle stations. We chart our own course today, for Etheria," he declared. The Vanguard lurched forward as its engines burst with newfound purpose, racing against the cold clock of space. Hawk watched the stars blur into lines as they made the jump to hyperspace. There was no turning back now. They would reach Etheria, not as enforcers or conquerors, but as guardians. The dark of space seemed less absolute with their resolve. It was a canvas, and humanity was about to paint its true colors upon it. Etheria's plea echoed in the grand halls of the Galactic Council, yet it was met with a measured hush, a stillness that spoke volumes of the bureaucracy at play. Envoys and diplomats from myriad systems deliberated, their arguments a symphony of stasis. But beyond the marbled floors and under the gaze of the Great Seal of the Council, one seat remained empty. It belonged to Earth, whose envoy, Commander Jason Hawk, had already set his course. Back on the Vanguard, Hawk paced before the main viewport, watching the cosmos stretch and contract as they sped through hyperspace. His first officer, Lieutenant Marco Diaz, approached with reports of ready weapons and shield arrays at full charge. The crew, a microcosm of Earth's relentless spirit, shared a unified pulse. Anticipation charged the air. They were a singular force propelled not by orders, but by humanity's undying will. "Time to jump location?" Hawk inquired, his eyes never leaving the vast expanse that lay beyond the reinforced glass. 3 minutes to exit hyperspace, Commander," Diaz replied, his hand steady on the navigation console. In those fleeting moments, the Council's words became a distant murmur. It was no longer about jurisdiction or the fear of escalation. It was about lives hanging by a silken thread, about the Vanguard's silent vow to be the shield against the night. The ship's alarm signaled the end of their journey through the stars. Etheria would soon be in sight. Hawk took his place amongst his crew, his resolve mirrored in their steeled gazes. The United Earthship Vanguard, a harbinger of hope, hurtled towards a world on the brink. There, amidst the shadows cast by the Marauders' ships, they would stand as Earth's answer to a cry for help, a cry that would not go unheeded. As the Vanguard exited hyperspace, the once serene Etherian system was revealed in turmoil, besieged by dark warships of unknown origin. They loomed like vultures over the ravaged jewel of Etheria, whose shields flickered under relentless assault. Commander Hawk's gaze was steely as he assessed the chaotic ballet of destruction. "Launch all fighters, full squadron, defensive formations," Hawk ordered. The response was immediate. The Vanguard trembled as its hangar bays disgorged a swarm of fighters, like a clenched fist releasing a storm of steely knuckles. Lieutenant Diaz turned to Hawk. "Sir, all squadrons are deployed." "Orders." Hawk's response was terse. "Engage at will. Prioritize civilian protection. We hold the line." The crew worked in silent concert, a testament to their training and unity in the face of adversity. As the Vanguard's cannons thundered to life, sending salvos towards the encroaching enemy, the tide began to turn. The Marauders, once confident in their superiority, now hesitated under the onslaught of human ferocity. In the dim light of the control room, Hawk stood resolute. His order was not just a tactical command, but a declaration of humanity's indomitable spirit. The Vanguard was not just a ship, and its crew not merely soldiers. They were the embodiment of Earth's resolve, a clarion call that echoed across the void, declaring that this far, no further, shall darkness spread. Etheria's ground forces, emboldened by the arrival of the Vanguard, rallied to the cause. Communications, once filled with the noise of desperation, now carried the hymn of unified defiance. The skies above Etheria, set ablaze with the light of battle, were now alight with the hope that this unexpected charge had ignited. As the Vanguard's fighters sliced through the battlefield, weaving between the volleys of energy that lit up the dark skies of Etheria, the Marauders' ships retaliated with ruthless precision. But the human pilots, trained for such desperate undertakings, danced at the edge of danger, their maneuvers as daring as they were deadly. Commander Hawk monitored the unfolding chaos from the Vanguard's bridge, his eyes flicking between screens that displayed the harrowing ballet of war. "Status on the ground forces," he barked over the din of reports flooding in. "Sir, Etherian defense batteries are coming back online. Our air support is tipping the scales," reported Diaz, his voice a calm in the storm of war. Hawk nodded, satisfaction briefly crossing his features before the weight of command resettled upon him. "Focus fire on their command ship. If we cut the head off the snake, the body dies," he commanded, pointing to the largest of the Marauder vessels that loomed ominously close to Etheria's atmosphere. The Vanguard adjusted its bearing, its massive cannons aligning with the enemy flagship. The air crackled with anticipation as energy capacitors charged, the ship itself seeming to hold its breath before unleashing a devastating barrage. The Marauder flagship was caught off guard, its shields flickering under the sudden, concentrated onslaught. In the skirmish that followed, the human fighters exploited the confusion, darting through the enemy formations, their weapons carving arcs of destruction. Each pilot bore the weight of their mission, not just to fight, but to protect a world that had called for help in its darkest hour. Amidst the chaos, a small victory emerged. The Marauder flagship, its defenses compromised, began to retreat, dragging its battered fleet along with it. Cheers erupted throughout the Vanguard's bridge, but Hawk remained focused. "Maintain pressure, all units. Push them back until Etheria is clear," he ordered, knowing well that the battle was far from over. The skirmish had shown the Marauders that Etheria was not undefended, that the silent void of space had eyes, and those eyes belonged to humanity. As the Marauders regrouped, so did the Vanguard, readying itself for the next wave. The first real test had been passed, but the war for Etheria's freedom was just beginning. With the Marauder flagship in retreat and its fleet reeling from the unexpected ferocity of the human response, the Vanguard continued its relentless assault. The skies above Etheria, once darkened by the shadow of the enemy, now sparkled with the debris of the retreating invaders. Commander Hawk watched the view screens, a grim satisfaction in his eyes as each enemy ship warped out, leaving the Etherian atmosphere clearer with each passing moment. "Reinforce our positions around the planet, no more surprises," he commanded, his voice echoing through the bridge. The crew sprang into action, coordinating with the Etherian ground forces to secure the major cities and strategic points. Supply lines were established, and relief efforts began to take shape. From the depths of despair, Etheria was slowly, but steadily, finding its way back to hope. Lieutenant Diaz approached Hawk, a datapad in hand. "Sir, our drones have picked up scattered Marauder units on the outskirts. They seem disorganized, but could regroup." Hawk nodded, understanding the risk of a regrouped enemy. "Deploy recon squads. I want eyes on every possible rally point. They won't get another chance to surprise us." As the Vanguard's forces worked to fortify their newfound positions, messages of gratitude began to pour in from the Etherian leaders. They hailed the humans not just as saviors, but as brothers and sisters in arms. This gesture of solidarity was broadcast across the system, inspiring not only the troops, but also the civilians who had cowered under the threat of annihilation. The day ended with the Etherian sunset casting long shadows over the landscapes, the light playing over the ruins and the makeshift camps alike, a reminder of the cost of peace. The Vanguard stood vigilant in orbit, its silhouette a stark reminder against the stars that Earth's reach was both a shield and a promise. Commander Hawk retired to his quarters for the first time in what felt like days, the weight of the siege lifting with each report of progress and each word of thanks. But the quiet of his room offered little comfort. The war was not over, and his resolve would need to be as steadfast as ever in the days to come. As dawn broke over Etheria, the once silent planet buzzed with activity. Earth's intervention had sparked a resurgence of spirit among the battered Etherian forces, and now, signals of solidarity began to stretch across the galaxy. Other civilizations, previously hesitant to act, were now stepping forward, motivated by the bravery displayed by Commander Hawk and his crew. On the Vanguard's bridge, Hawk reviewed the tactical displays, noting the influx of Allied ships entering the system, Looks like our stand made more noise than we thought, he mused aloud, a slight smile breaking his usual stern demeanor. Lieutenant Diaz nodded, his eyes on the screen showing the approaching fleet. We've got reinforcements from the Solarian Armada and even a few ships from the distant Harkin sector. It seems your call to arms has resonated more widely than anticipated, sir. The Vanguard's hangar bays and docking ports became a hive of multicultural activity as various alien crews came aboard to coordinate efforts. Strategy meetings were filled with a diverse array of commanders and pilots, each contributing their unique insights and technologies to fortify the defense of Etheria. Hawk found himself at the center of this newfound alliance, directing operations with a clear vision fostered by unity. We need to ensure Etheria's security system is impenetrable. With these new resources, let's enhance our orbital defenses and set up additional ground patrols. We're not just protecting them until the Marauders lose interest. We're making sure nothing like this can happen again. As the day progressed, the combined fleet carried out drills and simulations, their maneuvers a dance of diverse crafts and capabilities, blending into a formidable force. The Marauders, observing from the fringes of the system, hesitated, their numbers dwindling under the weight of their losses and the growing opposition. By evening, what had started as a desperate rescue had transformed into a robust coalition. Celebrations were muted, the memory of recent attacks still fresh, but there was a palpable sense of achievement in the air. Hawk retired to his quarters, the reports of the day's successes in his hands, but his thoughts were with his crew and their unexpected allies. Together, they had turned the tide, not just defending a friend, but also laying the groundwork for a coalition that might one day ensure peace across the sectors. The day's end brought not just rest, but a renewed commitment to a cause much greater than any had anticipated. The newfound alliance's unity was soon put to the test as the Marauder forces, bolstered by reinforcements from their own dark corners of the galaxy, mounted a massive counteroffensive. As the twilight skies of Etheria began to darken with enemy ships, the tension on the Vanguard was palpable. Commander Hawk stood at the forefront, observing the approaching swarm. "All ships, this is it," he broadcasted across the Allied fleet, his voice a beacon of resolve. "Hold formation, focus fire, and protect the planet at all costs. Today, we stand not just for Etheria, but for all who believe in our cause." The battle commenced with a fury. The Marauders, desperate to reclaim their lost ground, threw themselves against the stalwart defenses of the Allied fleet. The sky was ablaze with the light of laser fire and the roar of engines. The Vanguard, at the heart of the formation, unleashed its full arsenal, its cannons singing in harmony with those of its allies. Lieutenant Diaz coordinated the fleet's movements. His calm demeanor belied the rapid pace of his orders. Under his guidance, the Allied ships wove a tapestry of defensive prowess, each movement countering the Marauders' aggressive tactics. The turning point came as the Marauder flagship, confident in its might, overextended its reach. Seizing the opportunity, Hawk ordered a concentrated strike. The combined firepower of several Allied ships bore down on the flagship, breaking through its shields and setting off a chain reaction within its core. As the flagship erupted in a blinding explosion, the morale of the Marauder fleet faltered. Without their command ship, confusion spread, and their formation began to crumble. Hawk pressed the advantage, pushing the Allied fleet forward, driving the Marauders back. As the last of the enemy's ships warped away in retreat, a cheer erupted from the crew of the Vanguard. They had done more than survive. They had delivered a decisive blow that would likely deter future conflicts. As the debris cleared and the skies above Etheria calmed, the impact of their victory began to sink in. They had not only protected a world, but had also strengthened the bonds between diverse civilizations, each now seeing the other not as distant allies, but as brothers in arms. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon of Etheria, it illuminated a changed world. The remnants of the Marauder fleet had fled, leaving behind a sky cleared of the shadow of war. The air was filled with the electric aftermath of victory, and the ground teams were already busy repairing the scars left by the conflict. Commander Hawk stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, overlooking the peaceful planet below. The sense of relief was palpable, but so was the knowledge of what had been achieved beyond mere survival. The Allied fleet, once a hastily assembled band of rescuers, had solidified into a formidable coalition, its bonds forged in the heat of battle. Lieutenant Diaz approached with the latest reports. "Sir, the last of the Marauder signals are disappearing. Our patrols are in place, and Etheria is secure. Also, the Council has sent their congratulations, along with a formal request to discuss a permanent alliance." Hawk nodded, a slight smile breaking through his usually stern demeanor. "Prepare the ship for the Council meet. It's time we ensure this unity lasts beyond the battlefield. The celebrations that followed were not just for a battle won, but for a future brightened. The Galactic Council, once hesitant and divided, now saw the value in what Hawk and his crew had championed. The ceremony held on Etheria was broadcast across galaxies, a public acknowledgement of Earth's role in not only repelling the Marauders, but also in uniting a fragment of the cosmos. As Hawk addressed the assembly, his words resonated across countless worlds. Today, we stand together not because we faced a common enemy, but because we share a common goal, peace and prosperity for all. Let this alliance be our legacy. The treaty signed that day on Etheria came to be known as the Vanguard Pact, symbolizing the role the Earthship had played in aligning disparate forces towards a shared vision. It was more than a document. It was a promise, a declaration that no world under their watch would ever stand alone again. Commander Hawk returned to the Vanguard, his gaze turning once more to the stars. The universe was vast, its challenges infinite, but as the Vanguard set its course back towards Earth, there was a new spark of hope, a belief that together they could face whatever the future held.